Mic check, mic check, mic check. You.
I'm Rachel, nice to meet you. Hi.
Mic check. Mic check. So I guess I'm in the middle. I'll put one in this side, I guess. One over here. Do we have any more microphones? Or just the three?
To the radio guy. It's okay, we can.
Mic check. All right. Here we go. Good morning. How's everyone today? Yeah. Give it up, come on. There we go. Did you guys have your coffee this morning? You did? Nice and early? All right. So we're here at So Live to talk about media metrics and evaluating radio, TV, press, social media impact on music careers. We have an amazing panel today. How about, we just let everyone kind of introduce himself. How about we start over with you, Dirk? You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, introduce myself, of course. I'm Dirk, Dirk Schneider. I live in Hamburg, but the radio station I work mostly for is Deutschlandfunk Kultur. It's a national public radio broadcasting nationwide. They're based in Berlin. Maybe I should mention that I'm not here as an official representative of the station. I used to work there full-time, but now I'm a freelancer, but I can tell you a lot about what's going on there. Maybe to give you an impression, I work mostly for a music program. It's called Tonart. We have 3 hours of music journalism every weekday. It's from 11 to 12, and then in the afternoon 2 hours. We do a live session every afternoon where we invite a band to play live. We have a daily night show. It's from 1 to 5 p.m. where we are presenting music live throughout the night, which I think is nobody else does this in Germany. Yeah, and I work there still as a producer and author and a host of this night program.
How about you, David?
My name's David Fricke. I'm a writer. I'm from New York. I'm a writer and a broadcaster. I worked as a staff writer for Rolling Stone for many years, but I've also written for Mojo. I was the staff correspondent for Melody Maker in the UK for about 18 years. I've been writing all my life. I'm on the air. It's Sirius. By the way, it's spelled S-I-R-I-U-S. I am Sirius, but that's not the name of the company. I'm a writer. I love being on the radio. I love playing music on the radio. I love talking about it, and I love seeing it. So I'm very glad to be here in Bulgaria again.
Perfect. And to my left, Rachel.
Take your mic instead. Hi, I'm Rachel. Lovely to meet you all. I work at TikTok. I'm the head of product distribution and monetization for Amir. Right now, I'm specifically working on our fantastic distribution platform with my great colleague Zara, who's in the audience today. We run a platform called Sound On, which is a digital distribution platform baked into TikTok's core product offering. Over the past sort of 12 months, I've also worked across the product launches of various free tools and services for artists and songwriters on TikTok that can be used in-app to increase music discovery and hopefully increase their fan base as well.
Hi, my name is Vasja Veber. I'm unlisted because I almost canceled last minute. But I founded a company called Viberate Music Analytics. We're from Ljubljana, Slovenia, so pretty nearby. So yeah, we analyze about 1 million verified artist profiles, anything from social media, streaming, radio. We even have some TikTok data, but we would like to have more of it. And for 12 years, I also managed a big techno DJ, Umek, is pretty well known in this region. And yeah, now I'm all about analytics.
So yeah, good morning. My name is Gehring. It's without the N actually, but a lot of people get that wrong. Another typo. I work for a Berlin radio station, Flux FM it's called, local radio station. I would say one of the biggest independent private radio stations in Germany. Yeah, I'm a host there. I curate, part of the music department, do a lot of features, stuff like that. Yeah, and as Dirk, I live in Hamburg, even though the station is in Berlin, so we're both working for different places.
And I am Rob Schwartz. I own a company called Who Make Multimedia, and I'm also a co-founder of ACX1 Studios. I had multiple music TV shows. I have about 3,000 interviews total between all my 3 platforms. Who Mag was a hip-hop show, DMTV was an EDM show, and I had a music video show called Video Vision. So anyway, let's get started. Let's just start down this side. So what would you say, start with you, Dirk. What would you say constitutes a great interview?
What constitutes a curated interview?
A great
interview.
Yes.
Well, a great interview on radio is always live on air because, yeah, you can't edit it and things can happen. It has some surprise in it. I would say. Well, it's a tough question. I mean, interviews are a tough topic anyway because you never know. You never really know how to prepare an interview and how it's going to be good or not. Of course, a great interview needs a great guy who asks and who is very open to what's happening and reacts to the answers. It's always a little bit provocative, I would say. We've got one host, Martin Böttcher. He's really great in this because he's so friendly. He's the friendliest guy and you really totally trust him. But then always there comes one question you didn't expect and people are really astonished, but they still trust him and often he gets very, very blank answers. So I like that.
How about you, David? What it is?
A good interview, well, for me, a good interview is when I learn something I didn't know. And that it actually takes a lot of research to figure out what kind of questions that I might ask that would drag that out, that would actually draw it out of someone to tell a story like that. And actually, just a recent example, I was doing a radio interview. I have a program on Sirius called The Writer's Block that I host, and I program it, I curate it, I pick all the songs, and I also pick the interview guests. And I had Nick Lowe, the great English power pop singer-songwriter from Rockpile, all of those great records he made with Dave Edmunds, and he picked some songs to play, one of which was a great song from the Philly soul vocal group Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes called The Love I Lost. I don't know if you know it, it's really worth hearing. Anyway, I asked him, like, why did you pick this song to play on the air? And he explained that when he was in Brinsley Schwartz, his pub rock band, they would tour Europe a lot, and they actually got a lot of good club gigs, but club gigs meant 2-3 sets a night. And so they quickly ran out of material, and so they had to find cover songs. One of the songs they used to really like was The Love I Lost by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, great vocal by Teddy Pendergrass, the singer, the lead singer. And he said that, you know, over the course of playing this song, they realized they needed more original material. So Nick decided that he would take the rhythm and basically the bass line in The Love I Lost, and he turned it into a song, which is actually his biggest known record, Cruel to Be Kind. If you listen to the two records together, they're almost exactly the same in terms of the melodic structure, the rhythm, and the way the song flows. And I had no idea. I knew those both records backwards and forwards, and he told me something that, you know, just blew me out, and literally as we were talking about it on air. So that's the kind of fun, but also the kind of information that I get to turn around then when I'm doing my work as a writer, more work on the radio. And one of the great things about this interview is it's archived on Sirius XM. If you have the app, you need to be an American, I guess, as a subscriber, but you can go to the app, you can listen to that interview, and he'll tell that story.
Wow.
And you'll hear how surprised I sound.
How about you, Misha?
I think surprise is like the most important, as you mentioned. When I'm listening to interviews, I want to be surprised, but also when I'm doing an interview, I want to be surprised. And I hate it when people just like go through their catalog, question by question by question, and you can feel that they are not really listening to what the other person is telling them, just like going to the next question, going to the next question. So it's more like a good interview for me is like a good talk to some degree, like a good talk you have in a bar as well. It has to be more structured. You have to be more prepared than just like sitting next to a guy and asking questions. But still, it has to be a two-side thing. Yeah.
Okay. So say now we have this great interview. Vasja, what do we do when we have this? When it comes to how do you track, like once it's done, put it out there as far as metric-wise? Say it's like the best interview you ever heard.
Yeah. So what you have to do then is obviously it comes out in a certain channel like YouTube. And the important thing is when you're measuring an impact of anything, it doesn't have to be an interview, any piece of content, you have to put it into context. That's the first thing. So you have to measure the number of streams, number of views, and then you have to have that benchmark about how others are doing, because this is the only way to measure it perfectly. And that's the thing with native metrics that especially DSPs have. So take Spotify for artists, for instance. When you go in there, you only see your own metrics, which is good, but it's good. We call this vanity metrics. You need to put them in context. You need access to at least one benchmark, whether the artist that you look up for or the average the average views that piece of content is usually getting, and you have to look at artists, if you're talking about artists, at artists your size. So, of course, when Ed Sheeran gets interviewed, that interview is going to get millions of views. But if you're a regional artist, you have to know how much regional artists are usually getting in order to see whether this was well placed or not. That's the first thing. The second thing is you have to check it cross-channel. So you do this usually to boost whether your streams or to get more gigs. That's promotion for you. So you have to have metrics on the same timeline to see, okay, I had this big interview out on YouTube. Does this influence my Spotify streams? Did my subscriber count go up? Did I get more TikTok subscribers, for instance? So we always teach clients how to put data into context, and you have to have a wider perspective. That's the most important thing when measuring things.
So Rachel, going into that, as far as with TikTok.
Thank you.
So I know you're more on the distribution side with Sound On, but let's say something happens, because it's big with the metrics now when it comes to, and TikTok's one of the biggest platforms for that. They pretty much changed the game when it comes to distributing artists. So say you have this interview, like metric-wise, like what other advice can you put on top of that?
I suppose it's very similar. It's what you do with the content afterwards. I think a lot of what we try and say to artists when they come to us and maybe they're just starting out on TikTok, they're maybe just starting out as an artist proposition, is be as authentic as you can and try and find a way that you feel comfortable to tell your story. TikTok's not for everyone. It's not a media platform that is for everyone, and that's absolutely okay. We're not here to say every artist needs to be on TikTok. It's absolutely crucial. We think it's, obviously we think it's important, but it's not completely essential for all those artists. So if you've done a great interview and if you feel comfortable in sharing that in this particular medium, interview cut downs do very well on TikTok. I think if it's telling a story and showing authenticity, particularly behind things like how you made the song, why you made the song, the collaboration process, music fans love to see behind the scenes. They really love to see how things get made because it's not something they're not ordinarily exposed to. It's something I used to love consuming on YouTube when I was growing up. I just really enjoy seeing the studio process. So if there's something in there, and it's again, why does it make a good interview? It's showing that side to an artist that they may not have already seen. And if the artist is willing to share it on TikTok, then we would love to host that type of content. And we try and support that with editorialized spaces in the app. So we have hashtag behind the song, for example, where we work with songwriters to create content that is specifically telling their side of the story, how they wrote the song with that artist, how that song came to market, what are the pitfalls for that. So I suppose it's just a modern day way of telling the same story that was, traditionally in print media that I still love consuming. It's just an updated version of that.
Love it. Perfect. We're going to start with you, David, on this one. So they say bad publicity is good publicity. Is that true? Is it not true? What's the difference?
I don't know if it's, I'm not judging whether publicity is good or bad. I just judge whether it's true. And I'm suspicious by nature, but I'm not really quick to judge. So if there's something out about someone that tarnishes their reputation or threatens to derail their career, I am actually going to spend more time wondering how it's going to affect the quality and the productivity in the art. I don't know how many of you saw this, but there was that item that was online. Actually, Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters put it out there where he talked about how he had been in a relationship and outside of his marriage, and they had a child, and he actually announced this online in some kind of post, basically I think to get ahead of rampant speculation and people writing shit on, blogs and who the hell knows what. And what bothered me about it was not that he confessed to having an affair or having a child outside of his marriage, because let's face it, people do it all the time. What bothered me about it was that he felt forced to get ahead of the story by putting it out there when it was really nobody's fucking business. And it has nothing to do with the quality of what he writes. It may, in fact, impact on what he writes in a song down the line, the same way he's written in his own way about the effect of Kurt's passing, and you look at that entire album, but here we are, the new one by the Foo Fighters, it's basically about Taylor Hawkins, about losing Taylor and about Dave losing his mom, Violet, who died at the same time, in the same period. But the idea that he felt that he should announce this in order to get ahead of whatever online culture we have, because that would have been more destructive, that actually pissed me off more than anything that Dave could or would have done, because it's really none of our business. He's got to work on his marriage. We have no business being in that conversation.
How about you, Dirk?
Yeah, well, thinking about that, and my first idea was that bad publicity, if you're already a bit famous, bad publicity could be good publicity. But I'm not sure. Maybe it can also be bad publicity can be good for newcomers. I mean, it depends what it is. I mean, we are living in times which I think is a very good thing. So if you get bad publicity about, I don't know, being sexist or racist or whatever, it's not good publicity, and that's good as it is. On the other hand, I don't know if you've heard about the scandal around Rammstein, and they are casting young girls to, I don't want to say anything here because nothing is really proven, but I think that was in a way also good publicity for them, which I find is very sad. I mean, in the end, publicity is publicity, that's not an answer. I'm not sure, I can't generalize it, but we don't have the rock and roll times anymore where you could do anything to provoke people and it would be good for you.
Got it. And how about you, Misha?
I would say, I wouldn't advise anyone to try to get bad publicity just to get publicity. That's not how it should work, actually, so don't just go for publicity for the sake of it. The case that Dirk mentioned, Rammstein, is quite an interesting example in Germany, of course, also internationally, because after that, things popped up, and after the first rumors went around, that didn't stop them from selling shows, that didn't stop them from selling CDs, whatever. But I guess they're just maybe too big to fail to some degree. I guess for smaller artists, bad publicity can totally destroy a career at the beginning. Yeah.
So Rachel, TikTok, you've seen all types of videos. You see which ones go viral, and I know you track them. What's your thoughts on that?
On virality or?
On bad publicity, good publicity, because I'm sure you probably see more views off of bad things than good things sometimes, depending on what it is.
I suppose it depends what you define bad as. I think we have a very, and the one thing that I think we, as a team, we take our pride on really is working with artists to make sure that, I say it again, they're being authentically themselves, but we also abide by a very kind of, I suppose, solid community guideline rule book as well. You know, we want to make sure that our users are protected, that our users feel comfortable and they feel safe online and on our platform as well at the same time. So every time we either onboard a new artist or we've got a new artist coming around on campaign, we remind them of that as well and how to tell their story in the best way, and how to convey the message that they want to convey to make sure that it reaches the appropriate audience and the people that they want to speak to. I think there are goods and bad sides of the internet, absolutely, completely. I think media integrity is still incredibly important. I left school at 17 because I wanted to be a music journalist, and that is still completely within my core, and that element of making sure that people's true creativity and true musicality is really at the heart of all their stories. I think, unfortunately, the way that sometimes social media amplifies moments that maybe would otherwise have been private if it didn't already exist is a real shame and can be incredibly damaging. I think it's how you and your community respond to that, and how you move forward from that as well.
How about you, Vasja? What do you think? What's your thoughts? As on the metric side.
So there's this rapper called Diddy.
Oh, that guy.
And there's another one called Kanye. And they all got a lot of bad publicity. So their brands are tainted for life. They won't get a distributor to put their music on DSPs. So bad publicity is bad. It's as simple as that. But on the short term, in terms of just pure metrics, on the short term, it will drive your streams up like crazy. So we see this all the time. There's another rapper, I don't know how to pronounce the names of those new SoundCloud face tattoo rappers. They have all the numbers and the letters. Anyway, he got released from jail, and his engagement shot up through the roof. So he immediately got all the hot tags that we have on artists. So when an artist shoots up, gets really trending results, they get a hot tag on Viberate. So out of 1 million artists, maybe 170, 200 artists every day get that tag. So you have to have engagement going through the roof. And yeah, he got released from jail, so his engagement went up. When Adele posted her picture when she lost a lot of weight, her engagement went up. But that's short term. And that's not bad publicity, by the way. But those are short term results. And we all know that Kanye's career is over, Diddy's career is over. So it will never come back. So it's a short-term gain, but a long-term, it's definitely, you have to avoid it. It's bad.
May I say something about this?
Absolutely.
Because I was just thinking about, I don't know how much it has to do with music in general, but like the story that David told and people trying to get ahead of things is, of course, because of social media. Because social media, there are so many things getting so big, and what we more and more do as at public radio stations, for example, we are analyzing these things. We think we are the place where we can go a bit deeper, where we can discuss these things, but this also takes a lot of our time, and it takes away a lot of time for other issues to be discussed, which is quite sad in a way. But what we always can do, like if there is a, I don't know, a scandal in music in a way, we often invite other people who are also in that field, like musicians, and who are doing better. I don't know. I don't want to sound that moralist, but and give them a voice and let them comment on this, and put the attention somewhere else where it should be.
Perfect.
But it's really it's a struggle, and we are doing too much of that, because if people are talking about one thing, we have to cover it too. We have to react, and
yeah. So staying on you, Vasja, how important is it for artists to understand their analytics? Because I mean, people just put out music and like, oh, I got so many streams, and they move on. And that's typically what it is. But how important is it to know everything else? And what else should they know?
So the first thing is definitely connected with our previous topic. So if you see a spike on someone's engagement chart, if they're all of a sudden getting streams, getting new subscribers, you have to ask yourself what triggered it. Because analytics services usually won't tell what triggered it. We'll tell it that something triggered this, but then you have to do your own research. So if you see a spike on YouTube, go to YouTube, go check what was released. If maybe there was a good release there. So if you're an A&R, this is all you need, this is all you're looking for. So you're looking for artists who have a hot, maybe viral release on TikTok out, and then you give them a call, offer them a deal. But it can go both ways. That spike can be caused by something more vile, as we just discussed. So that's one way of putting data into context, what triggered it. And the second thing is you have to know if a metric is good or bad. So in terms of milestones or benchmarking. When we're talking about engagement metrics, which are one of the most important ones, because everyone knows it's quite easy to buy fake followers, but it's not that easy to get followers who actually engage with the content the artist is putting online. So we measure the percentage of engagement on each channel. So if you have, I don't know, 5% engagement, that means that 5% of your followers did something with the content that you put online. Is this good or bad? It's good if you have small following. I mean, it's depends on how many followers you have. So I usually, as an example, I usually tell a story when I was on a similar panel. One of the managers said, I called my artist and I told them that you got better engagement on Instagram than Kim Kardashian. Of course, because Kim Kardashian has 150 million followers on Instagram. So of course she has a low engagement rate because she has such a big following. But if you have 2 followers on Instagram and 1 likes your picture, you have 50% engagement. So that's why it's so important to understand what the metric is telling you. So you have to look at it wider. You have to combine different metrics. I know that A&Rs use our service a lot to measure ratios. Ratio between the number of Spotify subscribers versus streams, so streams per follower. So those processed metrics usually give you a much better answer than just looking at plain vanity metrics. So yeah, I mean, as an artist or as a manager, you have to educate yourself. We do a lot of workshops. Even our competition does a lot of workshops. We do certifications. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials. So maybe take a couple of minutes, watch a couple of them, and learn how to use metrics. Because right now there's so much competition out there, and you have to stick out. And I know for sure that A&Rs, as much as they will tell you they still love to listen to music, they'll still say, yeah, the music has to sound nice to me in order to sign, in order for me to sign. First, they use metrics to filter out what they want to listen to and what deserves their attention. So if you're not watching about how your data is doing, you're not going to get discovered. You're not going to get into their headphones.
And how about you, Rachel? I mean, with TikTok, you guys have a great platform to see analytics, and even with a music distribution platform, I'm sure you can see a lot of the analytics. So what's your thoughts on that?
I think we try and provide as much rich data as possible to our creators on the platform, whether you're a musician or you're just uploading for fun. I think there are a few things that I suppose that we try and debunk with artists and with artist teams is, you know, I think a lot of other social platforms do aggregate content in a very different way to the way TikTok does. Followers aren't the be-all and end-all on TikTok, and we try and remind our artists that it doesn't matter whether you have 1,000 followers on the platform or 20 million. It really doesn't make a difference as to how the community can engage with your content and how far that your content can reach as well. There are various things that we say to artists to, remember to use, so appropriate hashtags. I know hashtags seem very 2012 Twitter, but they're still very important to us because it's the way that we get the correct content to the correct people at the right time. So if you're posting a singing video and you're doing a Nick Lowe cover, there's no point you put in hashtag skiing on there, because we're then going to serve that to a community who are actively looking for skiing content, and therefore they're going to scroll straight past. So the best thing to do really is to, whilst you have all of those metrics and whilst you can see all of those numbers, is to not get too bogged down with it. Consistency is completely key. We hear all the time absolute horror stories of people saying, you have to post 5 times a day to go viral on TikTok. That's absolutely not true. Start with once a week. If you feel comfortable, go to twice a week. If you then feel comfortable, go to 3 times. But that's enough. You need time to be creative. You need time to be an artist. It doesn't, just because you're posting more frequently doesn't necessarily mean that your content is going to perform better or reach a bigger audience. It's about being as authentic, and it's really about trial and error. I think if you find a content sort of strand and theming that you feel comfortable creating, but also is starting to connect and resonate with an audience, then drill down on that. The way that we aggregate content, and I'm sure we've heard a lot about algorithms over the past sort of 3 days of talking here. We're completely recommendation based. So if I watch videos 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you watch videos 1, 2, 3, and 5, I'm going to get 5 and you're going to get 4 because we have similar interests. We like the same music. We maybe follow the same artists. So have a look at what other artists are doing, peers in the space. Aspirational artists as well, and see the type of content they're creating and really what their community is saying in the comments and how they're interacting. I think that's more important to us as a platform to see artists doing than care too much about how many followers they have.
And Misha, so we have this content, right? How do you gauge, say you do an interview, or you have an interview on the station or something like that, how do you gauge that as a successful interview? Or a successful piece of content?
Actually, I do not. Most of the time, to be honest. I mean, we are a quite small station. And for example, our online engagement is like pretty low. Could do better there. We look at the numbers of viewers that are listening to our station, but it's not pinpoint to like this interview, or we choose that song and that didn't perform well. It's the whole program we're looking at all the time. The process of to say if this interview worked well or that's like an internal thing for us more. And I know that we should do better, like analyzing this stuff, and we're just a small team and we cannot like do this as well as like our other stuff we have to do. But yeah, I think we try to believe in ourselves and like what we think is important. And when we think it's important, we're going to do the interview, we're going to put it out, and we do not care that much, to be honest, about how it performs at the end.
Got it. So David, you have a show on Sirius XM. You do interviews, you do music. What do you see as the most successful? Is there a way that you can gauge what's being watched or what's being listened to throughout the station, and which has the most response to it?
You mean how is my impact measured, or?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No idea.
For Sirius XM, and I work on a variety of different channels and different formats and programs, but Sirius is a subscription service. So the basic metric there is the number of subscribers, which is substantial. It goes all across the US. And so I'm actually broadcasting nationwide. They do have metrics. I've never asked, and frankly, I don't care. My best metric is that this one program I do, the Writer's Block, has been on the air for 9 years. And if nobody was listening, I'd have been gone after the first week, because that's not the business they're in. They're not there as an arts supporting
Do you have
business.
artists? Do you have artists like reach out to you, or people reach out to you after?
Well, that's the thing. See,
say
one of
how
the problems
great
is
it
I'm probably the most analog guy on this panel because I am not on any social media. So I don't, since I'm an independent entrepreneur as a writer now and on the air, I don't promote the shows. I do them, they go out, and what's happened over time is that artists start coming to me, and sometimes it's based on a previous history we had when I was a writer, and also artists like when Nick Lowe was on, I'd been on the road with him when I worked for Melody Maker. So a lot of my relationships cross different magazines as well. It's interesting to have artists want to be on the show now because I think the kind of outlet that this program provides, which is, you know, completely free conversation, and it also involves music, and I'm playing the whole track. One of the things that's different from what I do versus, say, podcasts, is that in a lot of podcasts you can't play the whole song because of digital copyright rules. I play the whole song, and if it's 10 minutes long, 20 minutes long, I can play it. And also, the artist picks a lot of the music, and because of digital copyright rules, I can only play 4 songs by one artist in an hour, and only 3 of them from the same album. So if you're trying to promote your record, you've got to be a little more inventive. And what I get the artist to do is to pick songs by other artists from other records that have been an inspiration, an influence, like Nick Lowe picking Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. I had The Edge from U2 on, and he was picking Can, the Ramones. Have them talk about the way they do their work in the context of the artists that meant something to them. And the ultimate metric for me, there's 2 of them. One is that the artists want to be on the air, like Elvis Costello asks to be on the show. And we've talked a lot in the past, but he wants to be on the show. The other thing is I get anecdotal metrics, which is people come up to me in clubs, in record stores, on the subway, and they go, hey, I heard that thing you did on the air the other night, or I listened to it online, and it sounded really great. Thanks for doing it. In some of the other work, I did an interview, I was part of an interview program on public television that included interviews with Mike Campbell from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, AC/DC, and Derek Trucks, the guitarist, with his wife Susan Tedeschi, the Tedeschi Trucks Band. And I went to see Tedeschi Trucks at the Beacon the other week, in the Beacon Theater in New York, and a woman came up to me in the lobby and said, you know, you're the reason I'm here. I said, how's that? She said, I saw your interview with Derek and Susan on television. I'd never seen them before. The stories they told were so great, I bought a ticket. To me, that's like the ultimate social media. You know, she went to the box office, or the virtual box office, and paid the bread to see what the experience was like. And that was actually probably the most satisfying metric I could get.
That's amazing. How about you, Dirk?
Well, I love your metrics, David. That's great. That's really what I love. Oh God, I don't know. I mean, Michael, you said you're a very small station. We are maybe too big a station. There are some people caring about data, but they don't really discuss this with us. I mean, we still have this media analysis, it's called. They do it twice a year, and they are connecting like 65,000 people in Germany, asking them which stations they are listening to, like on air. I don't know if they still do it via telephone, I'm not really sure, but...
They changed it, they do it online now as well.
They do it online, okay, thank you. Yeah. This is quite important for us, and of course we have a big online department which is totally separated from us, which I think is not a good idea. And sometimes if you're on a conference and talking about a program and something went online and it got, I don't know, some 10,000 clicks or so, everybody goes crazy about it, but we do so much on air and so much great stuff, and we have no idea who's listening to it. But this is a total advantage, I think, because we still can do what we want and what we think is important. It's really, it's a great freedom. We had once, we had Jamie Cullum as a guest, and I think he's a Universal artist, and we wanted him to play a live session in our show, but the management says he won't do this, and so we just had him in the interview. And I asked the technician if he could prepare the piano for him with microphones, so maybe we just ask him after the interview. And so our host asked him after the interview if he doesn't want to play a song on the piano. I mean, it was pre-recorded like 2 hours before the show. And Jamie said, yes, of course, and he sat down at the piano. And of course, we didn't have a sound check before because we couldn't ask him before if he wants to do this. It had to be spontaneous or it wouldn't have worked because the manager would have intervened. And so he just sat down on the piano and started to play and sing. And at that moment, we realized that the technician didn't put up a microphone for the vocals. So he was just playing the piano, and somewhere in the background you could hear him singing. I mean, it was Jamie Cullum. But it was a great moment, and why I'm telling this now, I don't know. Just came to my mind because, sorry, I don't know if that's an answer. Yeah, because I wanted to know later, I was wondering how many people did listen to this great moment and what did it do with them, because it didn't go online, I think. We had to give this the recording to the management, and luckily they said, it's okay, yeah, you can broadcast it, because they also realized it's something really special. Yeah, but these are moments, great moments, and you never know how much impact they have, but I mean, you just know it was a great moment, and that's why we're doing this. So, stop.
That's awesome. Thank you. Rachel. So a little case study. So my friends have this group called the Kinfolk Thugs signed to them. They did a song called Back It Up and Dump It. It came out in 2013. It didn't do that well. Over the past 6 months, the song's got 1 billion views on TikTok due to multiple challenges, and it led to 12 million streams on Spotify. So I guess there's a question a lot of people want to know: what makes a piece of content go viral, and how do you make a crossover to different platforms as well?
I'd have a really big house if I knew what went viral and how it went viral. I'd have a mansion, it'd be beautiful. Truthfully, our community decides, and I can't tell you when I see a piece of content that's going to go viral, that's it, that's what's going to happen. There genuinely is no knowing. I think there are some songs such as this one that have very clear trends, very clear challenges, whether that's, incubated by a marketing team at a record label, and they're the ones that are trying to sort of kickstart what that trend looks like, or it's coming from the community themselves. I mean, this one had a really fun dance trend that was very, very easy to replicate and really easy to do, and people had real fun with it. I think that was great. I think the second part of the question for me is something that I can more concretely answer. We've obviously anecdotally heard for a good while now that virality happens on TikTok. I have an increase in my streams. It's been very difficult for us to then really track that and really show that is, music starts on TikTok and therefore it then translates to streams or to any other sort of value proposition. So some of the products that we've developed over the past sort of 12 to 18 months have really tried to close the music discovery gap between, a standard everyday user on TikTok I'm from Leicester, a girl from Leicester scrolling on their For You feed, discovering a brand new band or artist, to then saving that song on their DSP platform of choice and then continuing to consume and then becoming a fan. We really tried to close that gap, so we developed a tool called Add to Music app, which allows exactly that. The user discovers a song on their For You feed. With one tap, they're able to save that song for listening later on a DSP of their choice. That's been used millions of times now, and we're really proud of that. It's probably one of the products I am most proud of rolling out, particularly within Europe. So in Europe, you have an option of Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. Sorry, we're hoping to, open that out to a load of new platforms. And from that, really, we then went, okay, what else can we do to make sure we're enhancing discoverability and also providing artists a new monetization opportunity on the platform as well? And we took that methodology from Add to Music app and applied it to ticketing. We know that live music content does very, very well on TikTok. Completely no doubt about that, whether it's from a fan point of view, from an audience point of view. You know, I definitely consume a lot of Harry Styles content on TikTok, and I love seeing fan videos of that. And a real community has developed around artists that are playing those stadiums now. So what we try to do is go, okay, if those fans are going to create that content, how can we make sure that the fans that then discover that artist from that great content can then buy the tickets and can actually attend those shows and can make a purchase that benefits the artist that is, you know, taking all this time and effort to be creative and actually put these things on. So we partnered with Ticketmaster Access and Eventim last year to do just that. We've also just launched with Eventbrite as well, and we're slowly expanding this outside of music. So it initially started as something that artists and musicians could use. It's an anchor that can be applied to any video that they post, which will lead every user to a place to then check out and buy tickets. It's geo-targeted, which means that I'll be served tickets that are closest to me. So if I'm in London, I'm not getting, you know, listings for Tokyo, Japan. And hopefully now we're then going to release that into a more, I suppose, broader creative community. We're starting testing with comedians and with sports teams as well. So yeah, I think we're trying to close that discoverability to consumption to purchase gap as best we can. We've got things like TikTok Shop that are still being released and still, you know, coming to market, but I hope we're moving in the right direction.
Perfect. Yeah, I know you have something to say about that. I know.
About a particular song, or
about how something ties in with something going viral. For example, how the song got the 1 billion views, it translated into 12 million streams in 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, it does. So also, even we plow through 1.3 billion data points every day, and I still don't have a formula of what makes a song go viral. Again, if I had it, same as you said, I wouldn't give it away. I would just manage a bunch of artists. But yeah, it's what you do afterwards that counts. So virality has a huge factor of luck. And we actually checked the song that you mentioned, and we could only check, we couldn't check TikTok's data because we didn't have it. We checked Spotify's data, and there was a huge spike, which is unusual for a song that was released over 10 years ago to get such a huge spike. But more importantly, the whole artist's catalog spiked along with it, because this is a pure example of discovery. One song goes viral, and then people will go and check what else that act did, and they'll listen to that music as well. So, and that's your chance to ride a wave, which unfortunately doesn't happen a lot. We have a lot of one-hit wonders. Everything spikes, and then after a year, no one remembers that artist anymore. Again, I don't have a formula how to ride a wave. I know we always, what we do here, because we're a European company, so there's this big song competition every year in Europe. It's called Eurovision Song Contest. It's a funny contest. It became really weird. But still, it makes all those songs go viral. And we always check that data. And we call that pattern the Burj Khalifa pattern, because it goes up and it goes down. And it's always like that. And I know that there are actually major labels signing those songs that are listed on the context, but somehow artists or their managers, they just don't know how to keep riding that wave, how to put out new music, how to communicate with their fans. They'll get a slight bump in popularity, but after the year is over and there's a new contest, no one knows about them anymore. So, I mean, it could be like a false confidence boost if you have a viral song. So now you know as an artist, I made it. Now I'm gonna have a world tour, I'm gonna have my own private jet, I'm gonna have a huge tour bus. Unfortunately, in most cases you won't. But yeah, just try to get, when it's going up, try to get as much as you can from it. Maybe use this leverage to get a huge label deal, I don't know, get to a good management company, and maybe they'll do their best to keep riding it.
But may I ask how high are these spikes you're talking of? Because I don't think there's a spike and then people they just disappear. I mean, there's something on a lower level, I think, and I would think for many people this is a great thing if it goes on a lower level.
Yeah, but unfortunately it doesn't. So it usually doesn't stop at a point as it starts. It stops at a slightly higher point, but it's so obvious that, so we have this section that measures stream counts on the same timeline, but a whole catalog. So you can turn on and off different songs to compare them directly. So that contest is so strong that if you turn on that particular song that won the contest, everything else seems flat.
Seems flat.
Seems flat, yeah. So
But
you have to
it's
turn it
still
off in order to see how the rest of the catalog is performing. So it's so obvious. But yeah, it will remain on a slightly higher level, but it just depends on how skillful the act or their management company is to keep riding that wave. But I haven't seen a pattern that will go like this and go like this. It always goes up and down.
Yeah. But
I think that's slowly starting to change. If we particularly look at Eurovision, I think acts like Maneskin, Daddy Freya, Bambi Thug, those are artists that have then used that moment. And I think that's the important thing about what you were mentioning there is, okay, you've had this great moment. What happens next? What do you do now? How do you capitalize on that? How do you continue to, increase and grow that fan base and engage that community? I think that's slowly starting to change. I think the novelty songs will always be the novelty songs, and I love them. I absolutely adore Eurovision. I'm a big Eurovision nut. But I think some artists are really then taking that moment. Sam Ryder's a great example for us out of the UK. Sam Ryder was our best performing Eurovision act for many, many, many years, and has since had a fantastic career, sells out, sort of arena level shows in the UK and does, a really great job off the back of that. So I think it's slowly starting to change. It's less of a massive dive, but I agree that there are always going to be some songs that, people don't know how to capitalize on.
Speaking about capitalization, I don't know, I mean, speaking about streaming numbers and so on, I'm just trying to bring this together, what we're doing on the radio and what you are analyzing. It's like two different worlds, but I think we have to get the perspective right. It's like here, Jan Clausen from Factory 92, just today for breakfast, he told me, and I've heard this before, if an artist owns all the rights of his songs and we play it once on the radio, I think in our radio he gets like, I don't know, 35 euros or so per play, and you can, I don't know, calculate how many streams on Spotify you need for this. So just for, I mean, there are many ways to look at it,
I mean, maybe one thing where this connects is like we have to tell the stories, and behind every viral moment there's a story. Either it's Eurovision or it's like a moment where people just found a song that was released 10 years ago. Then I have to find out why did people engage with that song at that point. There's a German punk band called Piss. They're from a small town in eastern Germany, and they had a viral moment on TikTok when one of their songs kind of spiked, and they now have like 100 million plays on Spotify. A German punk band from Hoyerswerda, that was unimaginable for me. And since then I tried to figure out how did that happen. I will not get an answer, but still it's the story. It's the story that we find in these metrics in the end, in these data, yeah.
Cool. Misha, question for you. If somebody wants to get into music media, what do you recommend they do?
Of course I would. I mean, it depends. It's tough when it comes to, for me personally, I can just say I don't earn that much money as I would in other fields, but I do it because I want to do it. I mean, I get paid to listen to music, to talk about music, to speak to artists. What's not to like about that? And if you want to achieve that, if you want to do that, if your love for music is so big, then yeah, do it. And if the money's not enough, do a side job and do your own blog or whatever. I mean, I hope that most of us, we're into this because of our love for music. And yeah, if you want to do it, you have to.
Cool. David, since you have an incredible career, what would be your advice for that?
I think my basic advice is the one that I followed, which is if you want to do something badly enough, you're going to do it regardless of the obstacles, whether it's music or, in my case, writing. You know, I wanted to be a musician. I played guitar. I played in garage bands, but I ended up doing a lot of other work as well in order to get by. I did PR. I worked in concert promotion. I did writing on a local level, and when I actually started making a little bit of bread, I kept writing. And nobody becomes a writer to make money. That's just not a good career choice. But if you want to write badly enough, you're going to do it anyway. And you'll try to find an outlet for it, and hopefully you'll develop a voice and a personality and a sense of mission that will make it worthwhile regardless of what the reward is. And I think that's true in music as well. When you start out, if you start out thinking in terms of millions, then you're not going to get anywhere. If you can't communicate with the people in your neighborhood, your family, your friends, folks you're playing to in a local bar, then you're not going to communicate to anyone beyond that. Every revolution starts at home. And once you've made that choice, then your life is already enriched because you're doing something you really want to do to the best of your ability, and you're committed to getting better at it. And no matter where you go or how much money you make or if you sell records or if you get a major byline, whatever it is, you end up having great experiences. You have experiences with music and art and creativity. You make a lot of friends and you have a lot of stories you can tell in the bar when it's all over. And if that's all I had, I would still have been happy because that's all I expected. That was more than what I expected. The fact that I got to do this at this level is, I don't think of it as luck because I worked for it, but I also think of it as a gift that has to keep on giving. I have to keep turning the karma wheel for others the way it got turned for me.
Perfect. And how about you, Dirk? What would you just give advice if someone's involved with music media?
Yeah, same like David said, and of course you have to do what you love because, yeah, that's the only way to be happy, I think. Although I want to say I don't come from a wealthy background also, but I think we all sitting here, we are very privileged. We come from very wealthy countries. We are white people, and I just want to mention this because sometimes it's so arrogant to say, I was just doing what I want to do, and so now I'm here. I also did many side jobs for a long time, which I also loved. I was working in a bar, which I didn't want to stop, but then one day I became just a journalist. Yeah. And if one advice I want to give to musicians, because I realized here are many young musicians in the audience. I don't know, maybe it's too early for them. I don't know who's here, but there have been many questions. What can we do? If you want to come, if you want to happen on the radio, come with a story, with a narrative. Storytelling is very important for media, for old school media. We need a story to tell around the music, but this is something that can be very sustainable to build up an image as musicians, like also Michael has said. Yeah, and I think there will be a keynote tomorrow. I'm really very looking forward. No, today is it? Today's Friday, yeah, by a Booker Prize award winner, a writer from Bulgaria, whose name I forgot, I don't know, but he's going to speak about storytelling, and looking forward to that.
Great. We got to wrap it up soon. Does anyone have any questions? It's too early for questions. It's 11:30, right? Okay.
Thank you. I'm Ike from Italy. I do music. I'm a musician. I have a question about if we consider music as food, and in terms of sustainability, we can speak about fast food or slow food in a way that fast food consuming, it doesn't take us to a good point nowadays. Is there any parallel in your opinion with music as well? and what kind of perspective and different strategies may have artists to make a sustainable career throughout the next years in terms of making sustainable music, and considering that music feeds the soul as food feeds the body. Is my question clear? Like, for example, what about blogging, for example? Because I hear many other artists that get into blogging, like Substack, for example, where they get much closer to the audience in a direct way. And yeah, what's your opinion about that, and how we should also take a look to that direction for the future?
I can maybe start on this one. I suppose it's what, in my opinion, it's what you see success as, and it's really based on personal circumstance as well. I think there are so many ways to get your music out there today. There's a lot of music being released every day as well, and we have to take that into consideration. Small anecdote, I'll keep it very brief because I know we've already gone over on time, but we have an artist on TikTok who has 5,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, who's released maybe 3-4 albums, is very content with doing that and releasing that and creating music, has around 3,000 to 4,000 followers on TikTok, but goes live twice a week. She schedules those TikTok lives, she promotes them every week, she cross-pollinates, posts them on other social media, and now she's built a really great community around going live. She plays music for about an hour and a half twice a week. I kind of call it like internet busking almost, and she's making a really sustainable living from being able to just do that. So rather than focusing on the monthly listener metric and the playlist on Spotify, she's actually just turned her attention to, I like performing, I like to play live. How can I do this online and then translate it elsewhere? I think there is no doubt that, you know, we're more of a song consumer generation than an album consumer generation. I don't think that needs to take away from the sort of whole artistic vision of what the artist wants to be. I still love listening to an album. I think the comments today about storytelling and making sure that people show up for you is really important. I think, to be completely honest, it depends on what you see success as. If you want to headline Glastonbury or you want to pay rent, it really depends which one you're focusing on right now.
Cool. Do we have any more questions? No? Well, I want to thank everyone on the panel today. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so
Everyone
much.
give it up to the panel. Give it up. Give it up. You. Thank you.
And thanks to Rob for moderating. Thank you very much. And thanks to the festival to invite us all. I'm very happy. It's great here.
Yeah.